guys, welcome back to The Process. Today I want to talk about the pressure that we put on ourselves to show up in a certain way every single day. Now, I want to talk about this because it has been weighing on me the last little bit, especially this week. I have had some tricky nights with my daughter being up a lot. I've had a lot of big emotions coming up around this shift that I'm experiencing and this growth that I'm stepping into, where sometimes I just feel like it is really hard for me to show up at 100% and be the best version of myself. This is something that I grew up thinking that I needed to be on all the time, and I needed to be basically working at my highest level all of the time. And if I wasn't, I would almost beat myself up for it. I would get really down on myself, which would actually then make it worse, because instead of focusing on getting work done, I'm beating myself up, and then I end up procrastinating or avoiding the task altogether, because in my head I'm like, well, if I don't do it amazingly, then I can't do it at all. And that comes back to that black or white thinking that I have talked about previously on this podcast. And that is something that I have battled with for so many years and still battle with sometimes. I think I've just gotten better at noticing it in the moment. And instead of letting it control the outcome, I am moving despite it, which is what I'm doing right now in recording this episode. And that's why I want to talk about it, because we are not robots. We are not meant to work at the same level day in, day out without rest, or with not even rest, honestly, without some sort of fluctuation. This is something that I have to remind myself of because of the way that I spoke to myself as a kid, as a teenager in school. I felt that I always needed to be on. And if I wasn't on, I was then off like a robot. So then I would get just in these really negative patterns and negative loops of thinking that I'm not doing enough, that I'm never going to make it, that I'm a failure, that I'm just being lazy if I'm not totally switched on. But the more and more that I let myself get curious about this specific thought pattern that I have, the more that I realize that it is all about being able to just ride the wave and accept that days are going to be different. And it would be weird if they weren't. It would be weird if we just constantly were at the same level all of the time. And I would even argue that if you're working at the exact same level all of the time, you're probably not getting better, because there's no space for you to step back, reflect, have stillness, look at what's going on around you, look at what's going on in your life, look at where things are maybe not going so well or going really well, so that you can optimize what you're doing. If you are just constantly going and like steamrolling through everything, there's no time for that, which I would argue then means that there's no time for growth. So I think it's a false belief that we need to be just absolutely killing it all the time. If you're working in a space where you do service, that you need to be delivering the absolute best of yourself all of the time without fail. And of course, we want to deliver a high standard of service, whatever it is that you're doing, whether you are a teacher, whether you work in some sort of a restaurant, or maybe you are a coach, or maybe you are a therapist. Of course, we want to deliver our best, but there is still fluctuations within that, just like how the customer or the client or the patient is going to have fluctuations in how they are able to show up based on what's going on in their life. And I think the more that I am able to accept this range, like I think I'm really starting to see it as like a spectrum, where we've got my really, really productive days on one end, and then the days where it is hard for me to get into the office and do things because I'm tired, because I'm frustrated, just in a bad mood, whatever the emotion might be. we've got this spectrum and we move along it and we go up and down and we go back and forth, and that's okay. It's okay to show up to some sort of session that you're doing, or maybe you have a meeting and you have to present on something, and maybe you only have 75% to give that day. But you've done the preparation and you're prepared to deliver something. But it's okay if it's not absolutely incredible in terms of what you're able to provide or what you're able to give in that moment. And I'm saying this really for myself in this moment, because it is something that comes up for me a lot. If I am not conscious and aware of it, it will sneak into my mind and try to get me off of my course and try to get me to go into that all or nothing thinking, where I start to beat myself up because I'm having a tricky day. What I am working on at the moment is stripping back all the extra layers of commitments or my perceived idea of what needs to happen in order for it to be a productive day. Really stripping that back to what are the 2 or 3 things that I can get done today that if I do, I can feel as though I have made progress, I have moved the needle, and I have shown up for myself in a way that I feel proud. Then, if anything else happens in addition to those 2 or 3 things, that feels then like a bonus. That's like, wow, I also got this done. Awesome. I also sent those few emails that I've been putting off. I also made that doctor's appointment. Great. But I had 2 or 3 things. And for me, I'm doing this today actually. And one of those things is this podcast episode, that I can walk away from this day going, yeah, I feel good about how I showed up today. It wasn't the best day I've ever had, but I don't always have to have the best days that I've ever had. I can't always have the best days that I've ever had. Otherwise, none of the days would be the best because they would just all be the same. So that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm practicing at the moment, is really prioritizing what actually matters and what can I let go of for a day or two that isn't necessarily going to change my life. But if I get to it, then that would be great. Because the other part of this is that when I find myself in this negative loop of, if I don't do all of these things, then I'm failing. If I don't show up and I'm switched on 100%, then I'm failing. When those thoughts are coming up, I have to be very intentional to really look at why is that coming up, and then what can I do to move through that. And by setting myself up to only have a couple of things, I can give myself more flexibility and more space. And when I do take those actions, a lot of times I will start to feel that momentum, because when you sit in that discomfort and when you do the hard task that you've been putting off, you're going to get a response in your brain of that dopamine of, okay, I did it. That felt really good. I've got that internal sense of achievement. And now I want to experience more of that. And so I might do a few other things because I know that the more that I do, the more that I'm going to get to experience that feeling of, I did it. I did a good job. I got it done. I'm proud of myself. And that success then creates more success or more motivation to go after it and to create success in myself. And I love that reframe. For me, it is extremely helpful, because if we are coming from a place of knowing that if I can get these few things done, I'm going to have a good day and I'm going to feel successful, then I know that I can put in more and feel even better. But I could also take a break, go outside, do some meditation, read a book, and still feel really good about my day, still feel amazing about my day, because I was really intentional and aware to go, today might not be my 100% day. And actually, as I'm saying that, I'm conscious of the fact that how we speak into this day, how we speak over our life, can also have a really big impact. So if you're going into your day saying, I don't think this is going to be a day where I'm able to give 100%, that will be true for you. If that's what you're telling yourself, that's going to be true. But in saying that, I think it is important to say that if you're really having a hard day, if you're going into that going, nope, my language is so important, I'm going to say that this is going to be 100% day, I think that could also be detrimental, because it's just the opposite end of the spectrum where, again, you're disregarding the feelings that you're having in this moment. You're saying, I'm going to push all of those feelings down of the tiredness, of the frustration, or of the exhaustion that I'm feeling where I just want to break. I'm going to push that to the side and I'm just going to keep steamrolling through. I don't think that that is an effective way to do it. I think that that is going to lead to burnout, and that is eventually going to lead to some sort of resentment in whatever it is that you're doing, because you are bypassing the feelings that you're having, and instead of making space for them and accepting them and allowing them to come up and go, oh, that's interesting, I wonder where that's coming from today. Maybe I can move with this feeling, and I can be intentional about having a few tasks that I'm definitely going to get done today. And then I'm going to let myself feel how I need to move. And maybe what would be helpful for me is to go sit outside for 30 minutes. And if I have the ability to be alone, maybe I can do a meditation, a guided meditation on YouTube. Or if I've got children, maybe they can play with their toys, around me, and maybe I can read a book, or maybe I can just be present with them in the sunlight. And all of those things are still going to help me feel really good about what it is that I'm doing, because I'm being present and I'm allowing myself to feel how I feel. And then I'm taking care of myself and showing up for myself, because I don't think that being productive every single moment of the day, especially if you are feeling really run down, is going to help you in the long run. There is absolutely room for moving despite or with your feelings of, I know that I don't feel like doing this right now, but I know that this is going to help me. And I have set the intention to do 3 tasks today. And one of those tasks is recording this podcast, which I actually love recording these. It's one of my favorite things ever. So that doesn't fit in this example that I was just giving. But just to say that even if you are having a low day, if you have an intention to do a couple of things, you can move through that lowness and still show up. But maybe you're not bouncing off the walls excited, and maybe you're not absolutely killing it, but you're still moving and you're still showing yourself that you can get things done even on those trickier days, which all of that then builds evidence for your brain that you can show up and that you can get things done, and that you don't have to be a robot, and you can move at a slower pace some days, and that's okay. In my work as a speech therapist, there have been days where I have said to my clients, I'm feeling really tired today. This is a bit of a tricky day for me, but I'm here and we're going to get through this, and we're going to do our best today. And a lot of times I say that in response to when my client tells me that they're quite tired, or that they've had a tricky day at school or something like that. And so I just kind of meet them where they're at and say, hey, you know what? I feel that too. I'm not having the best day of my life today. And that's okay. We're in it together. We're going to get through this. And then we still get stuff done. We still go through our goals for the session. And maybe I reduce the expectations a little bit and we focus on playing some games. But then you're building connection. Specifically speaking about this speech therapy client, you're building connection with the child when you're playing the game with them and when you're showing up and being present. And I would argue that that is actually the most important thing that you can do. And that doesn't just apply to speech therapy. That applies to anything, any interaction that you are having with another human. If you are meant to be teaching them a specific skill, or maybe you're meant to be having a review meeting on their work that they've been doing for the last quarter, maybe you're leading a yoga session, and instead of feeling like you have to do a certain way, if we can go, well, I know that I'm feeling a little bit down today, but I know that I can still focus on connection and I can still put that forth into this interaction with this human. And I would argue that that is still going to have an incredibly positive impact. Coming back to the example with my clients as a speech therapist, I find that it actually connects me to my client even more when I'm like, hey, I'm really tired too. Why don't we play a game of trivia before we get started? Then they relax because they're like, oh, okay, it's okay that I'm not a robot and I'm not feeling 100% today. And then I can also say the same and we're in it together. Then we play a little game and then we get into it and we move on. And so I think applying that to as many different aspects of your life as you can is so liberating, but also a compassionate way for yourself to move through the world instead of constantly just berating yourself for not being at the level that you think you need to be at all of the time. You can let yourself move along that spectrum and know that, okay, well, today's going to be one of those days where I absolutely smash it and I'm going to have one of the best days ever and I'm going to get 10 things done and all of my sessions are going to go well. All of my customers are going to be really happy and it's going to be amazing. And then another day where you go, well, things are going to look a little bit slower today, but I'm still going to move forward and I'm going to show up and I'm going to take a couple of extra breaks and I'm going to focus on connecting with my customer, or I'm going to focus on connecting with my colleagues at work. And maybe it's not going to be my best output day, but oh my gosh, we are not robots. We aren't. We cannot expect ourselves to constantly move at this incredible rate or always know the answer or always have the solution to the problem. It's not how life works. And I think the more that we can create space for that awareness, the more that we can give ourselves a break and still be able to have that forward progress happening and still be able to challenge ourselves to take something on that's a little bit outside of our comfort zone, knowing that, yeah, today I don't really feel confident about taking this on, but I have built this bank of evidence where every single day I know that I'm going to be able to do at least 2 or 3 things, whether it is in my personal life, in my work life, in my business, in my relationships. I'm going to do a couple of things that are going to move things forward for me. And I'm going to show up in a way that I am proud of. And I know that I have this spectrum and that's okay. I think for me, I will just speak for myself. This has been so helpful. And it's an experiment that I'm still running. So I'll keep you guys updated. But the more that I let go of this perfectionist, 100% all of the time, everything needs to be perfect. Otherwise, I can't do it. The more that I let go of that, the more that I'm finding so much more joy in what I'm doing. And I can think, even as I'm saying that, I can think of all these examples where this is showing up for me. Like with working out, I used to think that it needed to be a 45 or 60-minute session and I needed to be so exhausted by the end. Otherwise, it wasn't even going to help me at all. I remember pushing myself to the point of basically being sick, not basically being sick a number of times. And I used to go to a lot of different HIIT classes. And I enjoy that. Absolutely. I do, not getting sick, but I enjoy pushing myself. But I used to think that if I didn't do that all the time, that I wasn't good at working out or that I wasn't going to get the results that I wanted. And I don't even think I was clear on what results I wanted other than, okay, well, I want to lose weight. But realistically, what I want is to feel healthy and to create a sense of longevity with my body, with my mind, and moving my body is an incredible way to do that. And whether I go for a 5-minute walk and just do a couple of laps around my backyard, or whether I go for a 30-minute walk down to the pond, I'm still moving. I'm still taking that action instead of going, well, I don't have time for a 45-minute intense workout. I guess I just won't move my body at all today. And I'll sit down on the couch and just sit on my phone or I'll just fill my day with other things. Letting go of it needing to always look a certain way and being able to go, well, I don't have time for that, but I do have time for 20 minutes and I could probably do 3 sets of 4 exercises. And that's exactly what I did yesterday because I didn't have a lot of time. And so I went out into the garage where we have a home gym set up. And I was like, right, okay, I've got 20 minutes. That means I've got 5 minutes for each workout that I'm going to do, each, oh my gosh, what is it called? Exercise that I'm going to do. How can I make the most of this time? And previously, I would have just not worked out. I would have just been like, well, I don't have time today, so I just won't do it. But now, because I'm applying this concept of the spectrum and of knowing that I can still move forward without it needing to be 100%, I'm showing up and I'm actually enjoying it a lot more because there's so much less pressure that I'm putting on myself to do it in a certain way. I would say this is the same for cooking. We eat 90+% whole foods. And that has taken a long time for me to get used to how to cook without we don't really eat pasta or rice. We don't use sauces at all actually anymore, unless it's something that I just make with like some spices and oil and stuff. So for a while I was like, okay, well, I've got to get all of these veggies in every single meal. And it was burning me out because I was putting so much time into chopping all of these veggies and figuring out how to cook them all in all the different ways. And some days I have so much motivation to do that. Some days I absolutely love having like a big tray of roast veggies with every single veggie we have in the fridge, cutting them all up, putting them in the oven for an hour. And it's amazing. It's one of my favorite meals with some sort of a meat. But now there are days when I'm like, you know what? We're going to have some salmon, we're going to have quinoa, and we're going to have broccoli. And that's the meal. And we'll maybe put some olive oil on top and some seeds. And that's going to be it. But again, this is another example how it's all the same. It's all the same thing of it doesn't always have to look a certain way in order for it to be effective. You can still move the needle. You can still move forward and have that progress, even if you are not able to give 100% of yourself every single day. And like I said, I think that if you are in a place where you have to, or you perceive that you have to give 100% of yourself every single day, you are actually creating this environment of stagnation for yourself because you're always doing the exact same thing. And if we are always doing the exact same thing, we can't change, we can't evolve, we can't grow. There's no space for it. There's absolutely no space for it. The only avenue that that's really going to lead to is burnout or resentment or boredom, because you're always doing the same thing. And then probably beating yourself up if you're not able to stay to that standard, which you're not going to be able to because, again, we are human. We have fluctuations. It is normal. It is so normal. If we can lean into that and still find ways to show up, even on our lowest days, find 2 or 3 things. Maybe it's one thing that you're like, I am going to do this, but I'm not going to worry about the metric of it needs to be a 45-minute workout, or it needs to have 5 vegetables, or it needs to be a 3K walk, or I need to write 5 pages in my journal. Maybe it's 1 sentence. Maybe it's a 5-minute meditation. Maybe it's 3 deep breaths. But we are making the intentional choice to do those 2 or 3 things every single day. And they don't have to be the same thing every day. This is what I'm working on, is I'm choosing 2 or 3 things that I am going to get done and I am committing to, because I know that process, just that process of showing up and doing the thing you said you were going to do at whatever level it needs to be at that day, that is what will build the evidence for yourself and in your brain that you are capable of moving through those negative feelings, making space for them, but also continuing to move, continuing to grow, and continuing to evolve yourself into this higher version of you that is waiting on the other side of you being able to commit to what it is that you say you're going to do. All right? So that's all I have for you today. Thanks for listening. Thank you guys so much for coming along this journey. This is actually episode 20 that I have recorded today, which is insane to me. And it was, this has actually been a really big milestone that I've been working towards, because there is some sort of statistic out there, and I don't know exactly what it is, but it's something around less than 10% of podcasts get to episode 20. And so the fact that I am here and that I've recorded this and that I've shown up for myself every single week since I started this 3 months ago, this is what I'm talking about in this podcast episode, right? It's like I have shown up even on the days where I feel like I don't even know what I want to talk about, or I'm not sure how I'm going to explain it. I don't know how it's going to land. The point is that I can show up, and that I know that the more that I do this, the better I'm going to get. And this consistency is so important to me. So I am very proud to be able to say that I have officially recorded 20 episodes, and I am so grateful to you. If you are listening to this podcast, thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. It truly means the world to me. This has been a dream of mine for a very long time. And so to have you listening to my thoughts and to have you here, it really means the world. So if you would like to talk about what you learned today, if there's anything from this episode that really resonated with you, I would love to hear from you. You can send me a DM on Instagram. You can leave a comment on this YouTube video, leave us a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. I'm so grateful for each and every one of you.